Reggie.
Yes, ma'am.
I have never been able to quite, well, not quite. I have not been able to really know or understand what Lent has to do with this.
Mm. The Lord bless your life because somebody just asked me about it today, asked me what I felt about Lent, and I went off into a, I'm just going to pull up what I said. So that's wonderful. So I had somebody ask me today at 5:29.
Mm.
I know it has passed, but what is your take on partaking in things like Ash Wednesday? And he's like, I want to fast. So I said, okay, look, um, Ash Wednesday to all the way through to Easter is 40 days, right?
Mhm.
The 40 days and 40 nights is meant to remind us that Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights fasting.
Fasting.
So it's meant to, oh, and I need to actually write this to him because I went off in a whole different place. So thank you for saying that. So it's meant to remind us of Jesus's, I don't want to call it struggle, but his temptation. And he had the internal fortitude to withstand not eating for 40 days and 40 nights, tempted by the devil. And so what we've done is we've kind of watered it down, like, oh, you don't have to not eat, food for 40 days. Just give up something that you like.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
let me ask you this though, like because Jesus, at one point in time in the scriptures, when the disciples encountered a demon that they could not cast out, what did he say? Remember what he said to them?
I've heard it, but I can't remember.
He said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, hey, this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. He was like, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
before he said it, he was like, you need faith to
Mm-hmm.
cast out this demon. And then he says, and this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. And so there's still a lot of discussion on, well, what is this kind? Is he talking about this type of demon? Or he's talking about this type of faith? Well, whatever it is, whatever you want to attest it to, he said, you in order to perform a great work, um, you need to be praying and fasting. And so we should be incorporating fasting as a regular part of our lifestyle. You still with us, Mom?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear everything you're saying. I'm
Hmm.
trying to soak it in because it's getting deeper and deeper.
Okay. Try to soak it in with your eyes open though.
Okay.
I do that too sometimes. I'd be
Yeah,
better off. I just
just
close
take
my eyes and
my
focus.
glasses off because it would hurt my nose.
All right. So um Jesus said that this kind goeth not out by prayer and fasting, either talking about battling against a certain unclean spirit or rather talking about the faith that's needed to battle against the unclean spirit. Fasting and praying should be a part of our regular lifestyle as disciples of Christ, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so my thing is, after a while, I'm like, well, what is the point of fasting? You're supposed to be fasting so that you let your belly know that you don't have power. He doesn't have power over you. You have
Mm-hmm.
power over it. You have will control. You have, whatever. So it says some people make their belly an idol, right? And so it's making sure to put everything in proper perspective. Like, nah, you don't tell me when to eat. I tell you when to eat, right? And so that is about removing the power of an idol from your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to think a couple of years ago, why are we just sitting here participating in this tradition of Lent, fasting for 40 days and 40 nights from whatever? I'm not going to watch my favorite show for 40 days and 40 nights. I'm not going to eat chocolate, whatever it is. Um, Anything that we choose to withstand or abstain from for 40 days and 40 nights, it should be something that we're trying to gain power over that is controlling too much of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
To give up chocolate for 40 days and then go right back to obsessing over it, that means you haven't done anything effective. But we just do it because reasons, right? Because that's, oh, you supposed to, I went and got the cross on the ash. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what we doing? And so it's a tradition of man
Mm-hmm.
that has a form of godliness but denies the power thereof. The scriptures warn about that in 2 Timothy 3:5. I know that because I just sent that to him at 5:30.
Mm.
So we have to be careful that we're not doing, when we do things from a religious standpoint, doing things religiously removes the power from it. When I say religiously, we just do it in cycles and we don't know why. And we just doing it because it sounds good because everybody else is doing
Mm-hmm.
it. But we don't
Everybody
know
else
the
is
power
doing
behind
it.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You should be trying to overcome something that is a stronghold in your life by giving it up for, whether you're giving it up for a day, for a week, for 40 days, whatever. Like fasting for me, I've maybe gone without eating for like a month and just had water. And
Mm-hmm.
that's nobody likes to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that I feel I need to do always, but I do need to incorporate fasting regularly. But here's the thing where I answered my guy that asked this question about Lent earlier today. I said, hey, look, I didn't do this during Lent. I said, I didn't learn this during the Lenten season, but I learned how to recognize an idol in my life and to starve it.
Mm-hmm. Understand.
So when hip hop music was more precious to me than gospel music, and I finally realized that there was something wrong with that, I stopped listening to hip hop music. And I don't know how long I stopped listening to it, but I stopped listening long enough to break the idol worship that I had in my heart for it. So now I
Praise
can listen
God.
to it. I can listen to it, and I'm like, yeah, but gospel is my choice though.
Mm-hmm.
Christian hip hop is my choice though, because I want God to be inhabiting the praises of His people. Whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm going anywhere, that's all I want to listen to, because I want to have that intimate relationship with God. When
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the fraternity that I joined, it wasn't anything, people getting up in arms about, black fraternities, sororities now, people denouncing it and whatever. That's all good and fine. But there is nothing that if they might be sneaking some type of oath into, my ritual when I became an alpha, that doesn't do anything as much as if I start to regard alpha higher in my heart than church. If I'm going to every alpha function and
Mm-hmm.
all my alpha dudes, but I'm not
Right.
fighting,
Right.
that's
And
wrong.
attending your church function.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, hey, I realized that a couple years after college that I had made an idol out of alpha. So guess what? I said, you know what? I denounced it. I'm not even going to talk about alpha anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I threw out all my. I had a beautiful gold chess set that had all Egyptian. First of all, Egyptian pieces are like pagan imagery. I had it in my house. That was a pride of my house when I had the townhouse. Man, look at my chess
Mm-hmm.
set. And when I
Mm.
realized, I'm like, this might be an idol, I threw it out with the quickness. Every once in a while,
Mm.
somebody be like, hey, you still got that chest? That was a nice chest set. I'm like, that thing is in the trash. That thing is gone. And
You
everything else,
actually threw it away?
I actually threw that joker away.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in the Bible, when they set stuff on fire, I was like, I ain't setting it on fire, but I'm getting it out of my house. I'm getting it out of my life. I didn't want to leave any room or chance that something that I had allowed into my heart and my life that caused an idol. And so to show God how serious I was, I threw out all my paraphernalia, all my shirts that said Alpha, anything that was black and gold related to Alpha, I threw it out.
Mm.
That wasn't
Okay.
that wasn't abstaining though. I was like, yeah, I need to make sure that I have prioritized God correctly in my heart before I let Alpha back in. Now at the time, I didn't want to let Alpha back in. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with it. But over time, now I affiliate with alphas now. But my whole goal is let me be around these alphas so that I can be a witness to them when the time comes. My priority
Mm.
is God first and alpha second. But I had to abstain from it in order to break whatever idol worship that was in my heart. Another thing, and this is all what I explained to my guy that asked this question. I idolized the lust in my heart to be able to look upon a woman and be like, "Ooh, that was nice. I saw that. Ooh, that was nice." I regarded that very highly in my life at one point in time. I'll be honest. It was a skill set that I had acquired, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Ooh, yeah." But when I realized the truth of the scriptures, when it says, "If you look upon a woman um, with lust, you have already committed adultery with her in your heart," I said, "Okay, I believe that now. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
stop doing that," and I abstained. Now, today, I can look at a woman like, oh yeah, she's cute. Oh yeah, but it doesn't linger in my mind the way it used to. It doesn't trigger things, and I still have to be guarded though. That's when I still got to be guarded.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes are The hours are crazy. So, but my point is, the things that Lenten season is about abstaining from something, but true fasting is about abstaining from something to the point where you break the bond, the what it calls the bands of wickedness that might be in your life because of this thing that you love to do. And so I don't know that people coming out of whatever they give up for 40 days during Lent, I don't know that they are doing it to break it off of their life. They're just doing it because, well, I'm gonna give it up for 40 days and I can't wait until after I'm gonna go right back to it.
Some people be standing at the edge of whatever to get whatever they can have after the 40 days.
Yeah, I would encourage them to find something that you can stop doing for 40 days and 40 nights. That when you finish that Lenten season,
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing it no more
Continue, right. If
until
it's
you
against God's will,
properly
continue to abstain. Is that the right word?
abstain.
They abstain from it, right.
Yeah, make sure you know that doesn't have a priority over anything
Mm-hmm.
in your life, and that's when you know that it's effective. But again, we're doing things that have a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. So that was. I hope that wasn't too long in answering your question.
No, because for some reason, I found it real hard to stick with it this year. And I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't reason as to why sometimes, for one thing, I sort of feel that me as well as other people are doing it because the pastor asked us to.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And I think if you're going to do um, fasting, it should it should, it shouldn't be told to do it. You should, I feel that you should do it when the spirit leads you to.
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so, after a while, and this is where I think you might like to hear this. You're becoming a teenager in the spirit, Aunt Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
You know why I say that? Because teenagers, for our formative years, we follow the majority of us follow what our parents say because they told us to, and we don't ask questions. But after a while, we be like, "Why am I doing this though?" The teenager in you be like, why are you saying I need to understand why? I'm not going to just blindly do it anymore. You're going to have to, and if it doesn't make sense to me, guess what? I'm not going to do it. And so that's a good point when you start to be like, why am I even doing this for 4 days? And it gets harder to do it. So what teenagers go through, it gets hard for them to follow instruction when they don't know why
Yeah.
the instruction is being
Why?
told. You want to tell me why I'm doing this. And of
Right.
course, that's when we bump heads because it's like, nah, you don't need to know why. You need to do it because I said so.
That's so.
We can talk about it later. I remember
We
I
know
told you
we
I started.
shouldn't now that we shouldn't say that to our children.
Well, no, I think there's still a place for that because God doesn't say that to us explicitly. He does say, like, if you love me, you will follow my commandments. Not
Mm-hmm.
if you
Mm-hmm.
understand them, you'll follow my commandments. He said, no, if you love me, you'll follow my commandments. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the teenager in us wants to know, well, why? And it's good to ask that because the Bible has all the answers. I just told you why he had to hang from a tree, a cross. I just told you why the blood was important, right? We have followed that blindly for so long, but eventually we come across somebody, and it's most of the time it's a kid that'll be like, why are we doing this? And if you can't tell them why, they'll be like, well, I don't know that I want to follow this. And that's actually, I know sometimes it is a form of rebellion, but I posted the other day, like, how do I navigate the world if I'm a rebel with a cause?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's one thing to be a rebel without a cause. You just
Right.
rebel for the sake of rebelling. But if you have a cause that I need to understand now, then it's okay to be like, I'm not going to do this again until I understand, or I'm struggling to commit to this because I don't have understanding about it. I believe he understands that. Like, ask away. And that's how we started this whole, you coming in and joining us on Evelyn was like, ask the question. It's okay. It's okay. You should seek understanding. The Bible says that all throughout, seek first the kingdom of God. And sometimes when you're seeking, you have to ask some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once you get those answers, whether it's by revelation from the Father or revelation from, another person or flesh and blood, once it tracks and you can track it back to the Bible, like, oh, okay, the 40 days and 40 nights represents the wilderness that Jesus was in when he was tempted by the devil. But whatever we're trying to gain control over in our lives, whether you do it for a week or 40 days, you should come out of that experience being like, I now have authority over that. It doesn't have authority over me.
Okay.
Great question. Did a great question. I don't know if my answer was great though. Did that help?
Yes, yes.